Awesome. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's conversation, we have someone very special. We have Miss Shreya Nagda. Shreya is a chartered accountant turned MBA graduate. She graduated from ISB, the Indian School of Business. She has had a very unconventional career path. She began her career with KPMG after qualifying for CA. She has spent broadly 5 years in taxation, and then she pivoted to make a career in social impact consulting. And she has had experiences with three very different yet very prestigious organizations in the space, starting her career with Atma and then spending some time with Sattva Consulting. And right now she's working with Samagra. So, my first question to you, Shreya, is what was the trigger point behind pivoting from taxation to social impact?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me here on this call, Sarthak.
Sure.
Um, Very happy to share my experiences with the audience. So the trigger point, as you say, for me, it was not one trigger point, and there were multiple stages at which I wanted to add more value into and add more value not just to the corporates but also to people's lives. So one such thing was education that has always been very close to my heart. And even like even in my family where it has been considered so important that it has really kind of changed the trajectory of the last two generations.
Mm.
And I would credit my grandfather for that. um, the second thing was that when I was working there, like I was in KPMG, pretty much settled in the job, pretty much settled in what we were doing, again substantial impact under GST, helping corporates transition. I think somewhere or the other, I did have that in the back of my mind. I really want to now work for people and help hardworking people uplift their lives. And one such way was through education.
Hmm.
So I think this is what I was literally that was going on in my mind, and I had already spoken to my manager partner, and they were like, "Okay, are you really sure, etc." And then we took some time, and then finally I, deep dived into it. I just left, and I was exploring, without already having a very very solid plan in my mind.
Hmm.
Uh, and then that, and then I was volunteering, and I came across Atma, and I got to know that impact consulting can be a career option too. And it was
Hmm.
after I left KPMG.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, not everybody should take that dive. I mean, of course, there's more information out there now, but yeah, I mean, it was more intuitive
Hmm.
that I wanted to do more about it, more in the space.
Hmm.
Therefore,
Got
yeah.
it. And what kind of work did we do at Atma? Can you help us understand that maybe with a project that you did?
Oh, sure. So at Atma, I mean, I mean, again, a wonderful organization. For anyone, I would suggest that if you want to pivot, I mean, it's one of the ways that you do this. You
Hmm.
do it. You volunteer first for 3 months pro bono, and then if there's a position, etc., then you interview for a full-time position, and then that's how I got it.
Hmm.
Um, so what we really, our overarching goal is to help non-profit organizations to become bigger, better, and stronger. What do we mean by that? Is any non-profit organization, as we know, they are doing their programs on ground, but a lot of
Hmm.
them are not systematic, and
Hmm.
not many of them are able to sustain over a long period of time.
Hmm.
So if I were to just give you numbers, India has, and this is actually from 3 years back, approximately 30 million NGOs.
Wow.
Uh, 30 million? Yeah, 3 million.
Hmm.
I'll get the right number. But that's a
Hmm.
very huge number. But then
Hmm.
are we really seeing the impact, the quantum of impact through all of these NGOs? Right? Because not many of them are able to systematically sustain themselves.
Hmm.
So so what we really do then is to help them in we call it like process, like to do things, set processes for all of the different things,
Hmm.
uh, then the knowledge and the systems. So we
Hmm.
help them, give them knowledge about how to do certain things, the KSP, knowledge, systems, and processes. And
Hmm.
then we set systems in place so that despite attritions, etc., whoever comes over next is able
Hmm.
to carry on the role and without, getting the programs of the NGO to stop.
Hmm.
Broadly that. Now, if I have to give you an example of a project, so we help NGOs across 10 organizational development areas, including say strategy, fundraising,
Hmm.
finance, etc.
Hmm.
If I have to just say, take fundraising, for example. So
Hmm.
what would we do? We did not do fundraising for NGOs. We helped them build out a fundraising strategy so that they can systematically raise funds, not just
Got it.
once, but forever. Right. So our
Hmm.
main goal was to make sure that we are not needed in the organization anymore beyond the program that we are involved with them in.
Hmm.
Say we would, in a fundraising strategy, we would start with what are the goals of the organization? What is the
Hmm.
budget of the organization? Now,
Got it.
corresponding to those goals, how much money does an organization need? If
Hmm.
you make that, do that resource planning, which was also part
Hmm.
of the strategy.
Hmm.
The manpower itna chahiye, so this is going to be my manpower cost. This is going to be
Hmm.
my infra cost. This is going to
Got it.
be therefore my financial quantity into rate to
Got
be
it.
in a very simple form.
Got it.
And then helping them make those budgets, coming at a final number that, okay, this is going to be the requirement of the NGO for the next 2, 3 years. It could even
Hmm.
be for 1 year if their plan is not set in stone.
Okay.
After you
Very
come to
interesting.
that number, okay, so now where do you source that money from? So what are the
Hmm.
channels available? Currently, so then you pick up two key levers. Right? One is the thematic area that the NGO is operating in.
Hmm.
And the second is the geography where the NGO is operating. So
Hmm.
from a geography perspective, because CSR laws in India are such that CSR is corporate social responsibility, where companies having net profits above a certain threshold have to contribute 2% of the net
2%.
profits for social costs.
Hmm.
Now,
Got it.
there is one more sublining or, a kind of direction guideline to it is that any company which is into manufacturing especially, you
Hmm.
have to contribute within a specific geography, within the factory, within the boundaries of perimeter of your factory. Right?
Hmm.
So then we would see that, okay, if are there any companies for the NGO in the geography where they operate, and then those would be so that's a CSR channel that the NGO can really leverage on, and
Hmm.
so that's just one of the channels that pertains to the geography.
Hmm.
And the other is, okay, so what are the different types of don't I mean types of sources of funds that we can have based on
Hmm.
what the NGO is doing thematically, like I mentioned. So, for
Hmm.
example, a lot of NGO, a lot of foundations or individuals or HNIs, that's high net worth
Hmm.
individuals, want
Hmm.
to give to specific causes. So, for example,
Got
if
it.
an NGO is into education, then we would do some research and help them understand that, okay, look, these are the 5 or 10 or 15 key foundations who give into education
Got it.
for whom education is a priority. So it is literally
Hmm.
like helping them do this logically, systematically, build
Hmm.
that out for them. Like maybe even to an extent that okay, there is this list. If we have contacts in that, we would help with that also, not necessarily though.
Hmm.
And then help them with say the next phase that which is say collaterals. How do you create collaterals for pitching?
Hmm.
Taking their mocks that okay, we will help you train. We will train you into how you present your pitch, how you prepare your decks, etc.
Got it.
So all of these minute things that ultimately then and of course tracking, right?
Hmm.
Constantly tracking with respect to your goals, so that
Hmm.
it becomes very systematic. Yeah.
Very interesting. So you
If you
were,
want to double click on any of
yeah.
these.
So you were consulting NGOs, and that's a nuance that a lot of people miss in social impact, right? So people typically assume that in social impact consulting, your clients are typically governments or ministries, but you can also consult NGOs, and that's a very good nuance that nobody would know of, to be honest. And in terms of project timelines, what is the typical duration of a project that you did at Atma?
At Atma, we had three different types of projects, which
Hmm.
each had a different timeline, right? I would actually call it a program, not a project.
Hmm.
One is the flagship program that we had, which is the accelerator program.
Okay.
So Atma is an accelerator. So we
Hmm.
help the NGOs that are already at a one phase. We are not helping them 0 to 1. Those who are
Hmm.
already at one, we are helping them 1 to 10 in their
Hmm.
1 to 10 journey. So we have this accelerator program, which earlier it was 3 years. Now it has been curated for 2 years.
Hmm.
Um, that's the length of the program. But within that 2 year program, we will do multiple projects with them.
Got it.
So for the specific accelerator thing, it usually used to be one. We used to do 4 projects a quarter for each NGO in the
Hmm.
accelerator program, and which means that one project would last 3 months in general. Unless
Hmm.
it is a very heavy project like monitoring and evaluation, setting up the system, then it would be say 2 quarters.
Got it. Very
So
interesting.
that is one, and then there were the other projects which were like literally just specific project based, not the entire accelerator. So which
Hmm.
could be anywhere from 3 months to say 6 months to maybe 8 months.
Got it.
And then there was one which is specifically the capacity building programs that we do with TRST and then other specific donors. Again,
Hmm.
these are curated programs, but that is 6 months program, 6 plus 6, six
Got
months
it.
of capacity building plus 6 months of review.
Hmm. Understood. And when you were applying for ISB, did you have this in mind that, I want to stay in social impact consulting?
Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
It was definitely one of the reasons why I also went to ISB because when I was in Atma, I also realized that I still need more skills to create impact at scale.
Hmm.
And and then I researched organizations that do impact at scale.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, some of them did come to ISB for placement.
Hmm.
And fortunately, that.
Got it. And I know you have not spent that much time in Samagra as of now, but broadly speaking, how does Samagra differ from Atma in terms of the kind of work it does and the kind of clients it deals with?
Fair. So Samagra, yeah, I've been here, I'll complete 3 months now. Samagra is into governance consulting, right? And
Hmm.
Atma was into NGO consulting. And now within
Hmm.
the impact, if you think of it, in the broad impact space, there are different types of consulting that you can do. You can also consult corporates on how to spend the money on the other side of the table, right? Like I mentioned, fundraising.
Hmm.
Here we were teaching NGOs how to raise money.
Hmm.
There you can also, there's one field of it, CSR advisory, where you advise corporates on where you can spend your money effectively,
Okay.
and that would create maximum impact.
Hmm. Very interesting.
Samagra is in another category, which is governance consulting, where Samagra helps majorly state governments
Hmm.
to achieving population scale objectives. So
Hmm.
one such example that I can give you is say doubling farmer income in Odisha or
Got it.
doubling milk production in Odisha from say 65 lakh liters per day to 130 lakh liters per day, right,
Got it.
over a period of 5 years.
Hmm.
So laying down those goals, setting high level strategies, and then
Hmm.
also aligning that. Of course, it is never in isolation. Whatever work we do at Samagra is literally like playing catalysts with the state governments,
Hmm.
and it's mostly the state governments that do all of these things. We are just
Hmm.
there to push things through and
Hmm.
help them ideate. So it's literally kind of the state machinery that is implementing all of these things. So
Hmm.
for if I have to just give you an example, in my previous or my first program that we did, it was farmer income, and it was specifically into dairy, so the milk increasing milk production.
Hmm.
And there, so we helped set up. I mean, I came at a very at a later stage in the program, but earlier from what was done, it was
Hmm.
like a broad-based strategy or goal is created, and sub theory of change is created as to what
Got
are the key things that we want to focus on. Right?
Hmm.
And then within that, what are the schemes or sub schemes that could be launched new or that are already in place but need to be revamped? Or if they are good enough, then how is the implementation going to be? How do we need to change that?
Got it. Very
So
interesting.
basically, yeah, that and then key enablers. And
Hmm.
uh, so that's a broader difference between Atma and Samudra.
Got
If
it.
you want me to double click on what I do day to day, I can.
And when you're dealing with NGOs and when you're dealing with the state government, did you sometimes or do you sometimes feel that maybe dealing with NGOs was easier because of lesser bureaucratic red tape, or is that not the case?
So, Sarthak, both of them have their own pros and cons.
Hmm.
Uh, Dealing with NGOs, you would hope that things would go faster because there is been too much of process or that one to the hierarchy involved. But on the other side, the challenge is that they are always burdened with a lot of things, right? They are always people constrained. NGOs.
Yeah, very true.
The attrition rate is high. I mean, people are not really. I mean, the salaries are not that lucrative as in the other spaces. Job
Hmm.
security again not as stable as it would be in the state government
State government.
structure.
Hmm.
So, you do have those pros and cons. And again, if I have to talk about dealing with state governments, they do have that hierarchy. So navigating that is, that is time consuming. But once there is strong alignment from the leadership and they've taken it up on mission mode, then it's just amazing to work with. Then it's really literally about coordinating, getting the right people on the right platform at the right time.
Hmm.
Because and very pleasantly, I was surprised that they not surprised, of course. There are the problems, the exact nuance of the problem as well as the solutions come from the ground. It's not
Hmm.
us like curating some solutions that were never thought of. Of course, we help with the thought process, etc. But all of that comes from the ground. It's literally kind of the trick, or the nuance is that you get the right people on board in those discussions in the room, which we are currently doing with the Maha GPR program in Maharashtra, is
Hmm.
the governance process re-engineering. I mean, the expertise, the dedication of all of these stakeholders is just so amazing to watch.
Got it. Very interesting. And in terms of what Sattva does it also consult state governments or ministries, or does it do something else?
Sattva has like four or five different verticals.
Hmm.
So there is foundations philanthropy, there is this NA, which is a non-profit advisory, there is sustainability consulting, and then there are some other, ground. It's M&E, which is that you do impact analysis,
Hmm.
impact evaluations. Somebody's already put the money; they want you to evaluate the impact on ground.
Got
So
it.
then they would deploy it. So there are these four, five verticals. I was working for 3 months in the sustainability consulting vertical.
Got it. Very interesting. And my last question to you is, tell me two things about ISB that only a student or alum would know about, but an outsider won't, be it for campus, culture, parties, placements, anything.
Uh, Okay, it's I have to think a little bit. Um, Only an alum would know. So, one is the placement, right? The excessive. I mean, we all go in thinking that we'll get. A lot of us go in thinking that we'll be able to pivot into management consulting, or we will, literally kind of land MBBs, uh, uh, or maybe chief of staff roles.
Yeah.
Um, but I would think that that should not be the sole goal. And I mean, as an alum or as somebody who's gone past it, okay, and even I went with that mindset, I made those same mistakes, etc. That right from the beginning, you're only thinking about placements, uh, and you're losing out a lot in those first 3 or 4 terms, right?
Hmm.
So I would, if in hindsight, if I were to, get that time back, what I would change is having a more wider mindset right from the beginning. Right? It is important. Marks are important because the first 3 terms grades are going to be considered in your placement report.
Hmm.
But it is equally important. First, the truth is that it's not possible for everyone to pivot. In
Hmm.
fact, very few of them can actually say that they were able to pivot. Because
Got it.
every company that comes in, they look at your past experience. But
Hmm.
the other thing is, getting time with professors, spending more time with professors is actually very important because, I mean, a lot of things, I mean, they are like a vast array of knowledge as well as opportunities.
Hmm.
Sometimes
Got
even more so than placements, honestly.
got it. Very
So I
interesting.
think I would really ask everyone to like leverage professors' time
Hmm.
beyond the curriculum, etc. Of course, because if you have specifics into the curriculum, want to go into further depth, they can if they have the time. But yeah, I think even from other than curriculum, like research projects that are happening, just work with them on those research papers, publications, etc. I think that's the
Got it. And
takeaway. And second is don't miss out on events. Of course, everybody does know. I think then I'm just getting to it. So a lot of people do tend to get in the wave of things. Like say for example, there's a case comp season and everybody is doing so many case comps, right?
hmm.
So I would say not to go into that flow. Just choose what is good for yourself. And
Hmm.
what you really want to do and what is going to help you also in future. Like, of course, I'm not saying that case comps are not important, but you have to see whether they suit you. I mean,
Hmm.
whether in your resume, whether in your interest, whether you're getting the knowledge or whether developing anything new out of them.
Very true.
Now, somebody could literally kind of choose to do some project with a professor, or somebody could choose to create their own, kind of SIG
Hmm.
that they want to really themselves learn and also have visibility on campus.
Hmm.
You mean there are various ways to do it and not just go with the flow is the idea.
Got it. And super duper thanks for this super insightful conversation. I am 100% sure that this will help all social impact aspirants. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Raj.
Sure. Thank you. Take care.